to right field, way up there, and way out of here!
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
The 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a sad yet happy edition of the Phixated Podcast. I am your host, Mike Azzalina, and I am joined by my bodyguard, Chris Regensburg. Regs, buddy, it's a good day and a sad day here in Philly sports. How are you doing on a scale of 1 to 10 today?
7.
7.
I think I'm at a 7.
I'm at like a 7 or a 6. Get it?
Nice.
Thanks. Jerks. ruined our day. I'm probably at a solid 7 too. I'd be at a 10 if the game that I'm currently watching had a different outcome.
That would have been a good nightcap.
I think between baseball and some Eagles news today, like that carries you to like a solid 7 or 8. There's no doubt about that.
For sure.
How's your week going otherwise?
You know, it's going. Again, coming off, exciting 7-year-old baseball practice,
I had a lot of people commenting about the need for 7-year-old baseball practice updates. Do they have a team name? Because I feel like we can't call them the 7-year-old baseball team all year.
So the whole program is like the White Marsh Warriors. So really we're all the Warriors. It's just
You're the Warriors.
We're differentiated by the age group.
Okay. So we need a Warriors update.
All right. Our first tournament's at the first weekend of April, so that's what we're working towards.
All right. Do we what are we looking at, projection wise here? Like how are we feeling as the coach of the Warriors?
Our first, season was fall ball, and the 7U team that was like a year ago won 0 games, and we went 3-5. So I was pretty happy with how our guys played, considering at least 75% of our team was 6 years old, playing against almost 8-year-olds and 8.5-year-olds. So
that's just pure coaching.
I don't know about that, but
I mean, listen, you know how I feel about the manager in baseball.
I do.
So I try
to be not Joe Girardi and not F up all the games.
All the games. Every game. All of them. You know who didn't F up a game tonight?
Kevin Durant.
Well, yeah, for sure. I mean, wow. You said before the show, he's an absolute unicorn. I mean, he is unreal.
It doesn't matter how many times you watch. It's shocking and awe-inspiring every time.
Is there anybody in the league that can guard him? I guess the one guy I think would be able to guard him maybe in his prime, probably not anymore. It would have been Iguodala just because of the length. But can anybody really defend him?
I mean, LeBron could.
Giannis?
Giannis. Yeah, that's a good one. It's got to be another person like that. It's got to be that's the only equivalent is like a Giannis type.
So, I mean, clearly we're not happy with the Sixers tonight. As we sit here, it's a 33-point deficit with 5 minutes left in the fourth. This game was over at halftime. At the end of the third quarter, the Sixers were shooting 28%, and the Nets were shooting 65%. And everybody from the Nets came to play tonight, like Curry, Drummond, they were out there for blood. They were out there for revenge on James Harden for wanting out, and I guess to support the new guy who. But on the Sixers side of things, Joel was the only dude who really came to play. Harden looked like the guy we heard about in the playoffs, just didn't look himself, looked slow, looked disinterested, looked like they knew what was coming. So, and clearly with Drummond and Seth, there was probably some sort of idea of what was coming tonight. Danny Green wasn't able to play, so that hurt some defense off of the bench when Matisse wasn't on the court. And I think that's something they're going to have to think about if they match up in the playoffs is, does Danny Green start over someone like Maxey? Because I don't know how you defend both Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. Matisse can only guard one.
Yeah, the answer is you can't. They have enough there's enough of a sample size on those two guys in the playoffs that like you can't. It's not possible to stop both. You have to just hope that you can play as good as them and maybe get a few more breaks, to go your way. I mean, it's been it was a problem before Harden got there, and Harden doesn't make it any better from a defensive standpoint. Like obviously Kevin Durant's impossible. So that's just like, just take him off, the plate because he's just impossible.
Right.
The problem with this team right now is point guards, really good point guards, which Kyrie Irving still is.
And Curry exposed Maxey on all kinds of screens tonight. I mean, you've said it a million times about Maxey and, his inability to get through a screen. He's always going underneath. And Seth was clearly exposing that. I mean, he was running through screens and ball screens and off ball screens and just having his way. And on the other side of the court, I said this to you before we started recording, like, I don't understand how the ball wasn't in Maxey's hands more often in isolation against Curry. There is a 0% chance that Seth Curry can guard Tyrese Maxey one-on-one. There's no prayer. He can get by him every single time.
Yeah.
And again, maybe, I don't know, maybe it's one of those things that this is a learning experience. And if you're going to score with the Nets, Maxey's going to have something to do with it. Maxey and Harden are going to have to score. And neither one of them did tonight. And again, will that happen? Would that happen in a 7-game series? Likely not. They're not going to be held down the way they were tonight. But I will say this, Regs, this is not a team that I want to see the Sixers matched up with in a first round of a playoff. And
no,
the Nets, what did I hear tonight? Like Kyrie can only play like 4 more games or something like that for them in the regular season.
Why?
Because
of the whole home thing.
Yeah, he can't. And I think they play 2 games at MSG.
Oh, okay.
So like he can't play a bunch of games. So I mean, Durant's Durant, and he's gonna carry them, right?
Right.
But there's probably going to be some losses sprinkled in there. So they're going to be like the 7 or 8 seed. What's tricky is right now the Sixers are like floating in that 2-3 slot. And if the Nets find a way to sneak into that 7 seed and the Sixers find a way to sneak into that 2 seed, that's the first round matchup.
Yeah, that would be bad. That's like it's like none of the matchups are great. Like even when you talk about, like we've talked about Miami, like I know they already played them and Harden didn't play, but it's like that's like the tier 2 version of like Durant and Irving, right, with Lowry and Butler. But like even those guys would make it a problem. Like it's a worst case scenario to play the Nets in a first round matchup with the Sixers.
Well, they won't see the Heat just because of where they are,
right? Luckily, but
there's a chance that the Heat could see the Nets.
That would be a good game. That would be a good matchup.
If things stay the same right now, that'd be fun because, Lowry's a bulldog and he would have a blast guarding somebody like Kyrie. Jimmy would probably follow, you'd assume, Curry around the court. Again, you got to just figure out what you're going to do with Durant because he is a unicorn. That's a mystery to be solved later. Tonight, the Sixers tried Toby. So, look, before we move on, I mean, credit Ben Simmons, tip of the cap. He wore his, street clothes really well on the bench tonight, flexed a couple of times when his teammates did stuff. He kind of reminded me of like the dude that sits at the end of the bench in a college basketball game in March Madness and just like waves his towel in the air and flexes every time there's a 3 and holds the 3 up to the eye. Like that's what Ben Simmons was tonight. And look, I know I sound like sour grapes, and I probably would have said it even with a Sixers win, but like, dude, I know he's sitting there so happy because he's watching 2 guys who can just score, and he knows that he doesn't have to do it. But it'll be interesting when the time comes and the playoffs roll around and teams are like, fine, we just won't let Durant and we won't let Kyrie beat us. We're just going to foul Ben and kill runs because he can't make free throws and it's between the ears. So teams will do that to them. Like They will do that to them. They did it to the Sixers, and the Sixers didn't have Kyrie Irving or Kevin Durant. Am I right? Or like, am I crazy?
No, they will do it because again, you go into it thinking we're not going to stop Durant and we can try and stop Kyrie. But like you said, there's a way to try and kill momentum or a way to stop a flow, right? Is to make everyone stop and stand around and watch Ben Simmons shoot free throws. So, and the NBA is, such a copycat league that once someone did it, people will go back to that tape and, they go back and watch every game like these players have played, right? To try and find something to exploit.
Yeah.
So it for sure will happen.
And sure, he doesn't have to be on the court at the end of the game because they have closers to do it, but they have to have a lead at the end of the game or be close. And if Ben Simmons wastes 10 possessions in a game because he's missing free throws, then what's it matter? Like, that it could be close, but at the same time, like,
well,
it just frustrated me to watch him tonight. It really did. He was so smug on the bench, and this just makes him so happy. And so congrats to him. I so good for him to have that moment at Wells Fargo, because he certainly couldn't attain it as a player.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is when you get talking about leaving him on the bench, it's like when you start talking about teams like Miami or Milwaukee, like who else would you want to put on Jimmy Butler or Giannis than Ben Simmons?
Yeah.
Right? You don't want to have KD have to do that much on the defensive end. Like that's the whole reason you get Ben Simmons, right? Is so KD can take some plays off on the defensive end. We've seen KD can be that guy in those Warriors seasons. Like he's shown that he can be the greatest two-way player we've ever seen, maybe up until Giannis got here. But you don't want him having to exert that much effort while he has to be your closer still.
Right. I mean, Kyrie played really well defensively tonight. I mean, he was definitely interested.
Yeah, I take that as more of an outlier, I think.
I agree. And that's what I've been trying to tell myself and telling other people. Like, you won't see Kyrie put that kind of effort forth in a 7-game series. He did it tonight because he wanted to show Harden that he made the choice. And maybe if they met up in a playoff series, he'd D up, I guess. But again, I know there's gonna be a lot of people who are upset about this loss. I'm upset, but like I'm not calling it a season. Like I'm just not. They're still gelling a little bit. Sure, Curry and Drummond are new to them, but it didn't matter tonight. Like Durant came out for blood. Irving came out for blood. This game was over basically the second the ball tipped. It never felt like it was going to be close, unfortunately. So
yeah, it happens, right? Sometimes that happens.
Yeah, these things happen, and I'm sure in about a minute 16 seconds we'll see another Durant Embiid wave off, which has become tradition.
Yeah.
in this rivalry. So I'm excited to see how this shapes out for the Nets and where they end up. I just hope it's not in a matchup with the Sixers, because that could be an ugly first round playoff matchup.
It
really, really could.
It wouldn't be ideal. That's for sure.
No, it's not a good matchup. The Sixers have too much to figure out, both offensively and defensively. But Regs, there was good news today.
There was good news today.
There was great news today.
Yeah.
I'm wearing my Phillies gear.
I noticed
because
you were all decked out.
Baseball is back, baby.
Thank God.
We're back.
Thank God. It was about
good deal. Let's play ball.
Obviously about time. We've talked about it enough, but just happy that they got it done, that we can stop worrying about it, that we, players can start reporting tomorrow to spring training. Like it's back and it's going to go and it's going to start moving. Stuff's going to start moving.
Mandatory date is Sunday.
Right.
But there's going to be players because of the visas who aren't going to be able to get over here.
Yeah, right.
I was reading earlier that was it Suarez? Yeah, I think it was Suarez. Ranger's not going to get here. He might not even be ready for opening weekend because it's going to take him forever to get here. We're going to see some lasting effects from the lockout for quite some time, I think. All teams are going to be affected by it.
Yeah.
So, that being said, we're going to go through the agreement here. The time's running out. I just want to see if there's a wave off here between. No, Joe went right to the locker room. I mean, right to the locker room. Didn't even turn around and look. Wow. Yeah. Hey.
There you go.
Moving right along. There isn't his Louis Vuitton sweater joke. They're going to see if they follow him off the court. F Ben Simmons chants, but for the most part. And we're seeing him go, and nothing. All right, good for Sixer fans. Good for them. Yeah, they didn't ruin it tonight.
It's tough to do that when you're losing by 30.
Yeah, oh, for sure. But it's not beyond someone to throw something at him because they're frustrated, you know? All right, so back to the good news. Let's just talk through the agreement real quickly, and then you mentioned that things are going to move pretty quickly, and we'll just talk briefly about what's still left here in free agency and go from there. So the bonus pool that we talked about quite a bit on this show here and there over the last few weeks landed at 50 million. So they kind of met. We talked about like where we started versus where we are. I think what we started at, they were offering like a $5 million bonus pool, and the players union wanted like 105 million. Yeah. And they got 250. I think that's, again, we came to the middle. If we would have just done that 3 months ago, would have been in a great place. But that's good. That I think is a fair bonus pool to start at. Minimum salaries are going to start at 700,000, which is like 200,000 more than they had been.
Right.
Next year they'll jump to 720, and then 740, 760, 780. So that's a union win right there too. Mm-hmm. Universal DH, yay, yep. That's fantastic.
Yep, happy about that.
CBT is $230 million. So the luxury tax is up to $230 million. That adds like 12 million to like where the Phillies were. Mm-hmm. And I think they're somewhere around 30. I'd have to look, but should have about $30 million to spend, somewhere between 24 and 30 million. I can't remember the exact number, but that's enough to get some stuff done. Mm-hmm. That's enough to get some stuff done, stuff that they need. The draft lottery is now 6 teams, right. So it was bouncing around. 6 is a fair number. That's a pretty good number, and there's some rules in there that like you can be in the lottery twice before you drop automatically to number 10. Like you can only do it 2 years in a row, and then you drop to number 10 automatically, which is fair. I think that's like unique to the league too. That's not something that happens in the NBA.
Yeah.
We said universal DH. The amateur draft is now 20 rounds, so it's kind of found like a pretty solid ground. And a player can only be optioned 5 times throughout the year. So, you can't just keep moving up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. So there's some limitation there. So teams are going to have to be careful. Can't just have like those shuttle players from really high value come back and forth every other night.
Right.
Just 2 interesting things that I found about service time, and then I want your thoughts on some of these things. So the top 2 players in Rookie of the Year gain a year of service time, which is pretty cool. That's a nice like reward for that award is to, you get a year toward your free agency.
Right.
So that's a good look for both sides. And then if you have a player who makes the opening day roster that it would hurt it would gain them something through service time, then you net 3 picks as an organization, 1 per year. I don't know where those picks land. I'm assuming they're just going to be like consolation picks, essentially something that lands in the middle of the rounds. But another thing that looks good, if they're comp picks, like good compensation picks are fine, and if they land in the middle of rounds like 2 and 3, that's still a really good pick. Anywhere in the top 5 is still really good. So definitely good news all around there. Anything, my light just went out, we're gonna go with it for the rest of the show.
I love it.
I didn't, I'm not gonna lie to you, I only charged it a little bit before we started. So we'll just let the TV give me natural lighting for the rest of the night. All right, so talk to me a little bit just about your thoughts on the new deal and what you think, any highlights or anything that
Did they ban the shift?
Not yet.
Okay.
That was part of the conversation for 2023. I haven't seen whether or not it's passed.
Okay. That one would have been like at the top of my list just because I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if it carries out, but I haven't seen either way.
Look, it sounds like they met in the middle. I don't know if I can be like, I don't know if I'm overly happy because it's done. Like that's my only main feeling. Like I don't dive into every bullet point about like what everybody wants, or I don't dive into like every bullet point, about, if they're within like a few million, like what we talked about a couple of the numbers, and it seems like they've met in the middle, which is, I think, the best outcome. And they came to it too slowly, but it sounds like, the players held their ground enough to, not get pushed over. And I think, like we both said on the last pod, we were, rooting for the players to get a fair deal. So I'm happy with that. I'm happy that it's back. I mean, I'm just like, that's my wave. I'm on just like, let's get past this as quickly as possible, because it was bad. We've already lost, 2-3 weeks of the season. So let's be happy that it's back and like just get past it, because it was really dumb while it was lasting.
Well, here's the good news though. We are getting those games back.
Did we get it in time to get those games back?
We're going to do, there's going to be double headers. That's the other piece. I don't know if you saw that or not, but they're going back to 9-inning double headers.
I did not see that.
They're getting rid of the extra inning second base runner. So
I'm okay with the second base thing going away. I didn't mind the 7 innings.
No, and I think they did that because of the worry about canceling games.
Right.
And just having to make up all those games and doing so many 9-inning doubleheaders. It's just, it takes a toll.
Yeah.
So, now that we're back in like a, some normalcy here, and if I'm thinking correctly, and I'm just going to pull up the Philly schedule here, cause I'm curious as to what series they're missing, to start the year. So the Astros and the Nationals. So the Nationals are easy doubleheaders to make up.
Yeah.
That Astros series might get a little tricky. And by a little tricky, I mean very tricky. But that Nationals series, they can make up at any time. It's only a 2-game series that they're missing. So that's an easy doubleheader or 2 doubleheaders to spread out throughout the year when you play a team 20 times. So yeah, I agree with you. I'm just happy too, but I was excited, and I said this in the last show. I wanted the players union to stand strong and get what they wanted. I'm sure there are things they had to concede here. I know that the international draft was something that was still kind of, I haven't seen the outcome of that. I've been, I was too busy, with some stuff for school, and I haven't dug in too much. I'm curious to see where that landed, but ultimately, Regs, this is great. Baseball's back. Free agency has begun. It began the second that the owners put pen to paper, and all 30 owners signed it. All 30.
This is what I'm excited for.
Oh, it's going to be a flurry, Regs.
I can't wait.
It's going to be a flurry. It's basically going to be football and NBA free agency.
Yeah, which is awesome, because baseball's free agency, as you have noted many times, is lacking.
Yes, and this is going to be something special. There are still some really good players out there. Chris Bryant's still out there. Schwarber is still out there. Kyle Schwarber's still hanging out there. There are deals to be made, players to be had. And I say those two because those are the two that I'm most hopeful that the Phillies. Trevor Story's still floating out there. Like, there are dudes out there that are going to make an impact. The World Series MVP is still floating out there.
So
like,
I know our preview.
Freddie Freeman's still there.
Yeah. So I know our pod with Joseph was a while ago, where we talked about like what you guys thought the roster would be on opening day of this season. But now that you've had some more time to think about it, things have happened. I'm sure we'll start hearing more and more things just in the next few hours. I'm sure things will start happening. But any change to your thoughts on who the Phillies might get? Any change to your thoughts on who they might be going after, now that it's been maybe, a month or two since we had that pod?
I think the thoughts remain the same. I still see them going and getting another piece to the bullpen. I mean, Corey Knebel right before the lockout was a nice move. He's a solid bullpen piece, but they still absolutely need more in that bullpen. They still need a left fielder. They still need a center fielder. I'm backing off a little bit on Suzuki, who is the guy that I had put in there. I don't necessarily know that that's gonna, especially with the international stuff and getting here in time and the whole thing. Right. Like, it's gonna be a little wild for that. So, I've kind of gotten on the Kyle Schwarber train a little bit. More recently, I still really am holding on to hope that Chris Bryant lands here. I'm still pretty convinced that Kevin Kiermaier is going to be the trade they make to play center field for them. So Regs, I definitely anticipate them bringing a bat in for sure.
Yeah.
Here, and I think that's the first thing we see them do. You know, I was going to ask you what you anticipate seeing the first thing being. I think it's going to be a bat, whether it's a trade for the center fielder or, which necessarily, you know, if it's Kevin Kiermaier, it's not a bat.
Right.
But I think some sort of offensive piece that they want to add to the lineup, or some sort of, you know, eight regular that they're going to add to their lineup here. That's going to be the first move that Dombrowski makes. But anything that you foresee happening right away here from a Phillies perspective?
I'm hopeful. I think I agree with you that I'm hoping that they bring in protection for Harper as sort of like a thank you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he
the MVP stuff,
right?
You know,
he deserves for the first move. Obviously, things need to happen for it to be the first move, right? We can't say what will go down first or not, but if that can be your first or second move, or it's just you show it's your top priority, then I think you leave your superstar with a good taste in his mouth, you know, and you show him that you guys are still committed to this. He's playing the best baseball he's played since 2012, and I'm hopeful that that's what happens. And I think because it's one of the more important ones. Like, I know the bullpen's still not good. I know, you know, center field obviously is still a thing. Third base, right, is still a question mark.
Yeah.
In some sense.
Yeah.
I just think it showed very much last year when other guys struggle, like JT, or obviously Reese got hurt. McCutchen was obviously he's just not that kind of guy anymore. We needed help. We needed help around Bryce. I mean, he still played like an MVP without it, which is unbelievable. But you know, I hope they show that commitment to him and show that, like, hey, you know, this is one of our top priorities was to get somebody in here who we know can protect you in this lineup. And then you go from there, and then you start filling in the rest of the stuff.
Too many guys failed. We've talked about this. Too many guys failed. Didi failed. Baum failed. Real Muto failed. Kutch was streaky.
We got to get into the JT thing one of these days.
We've never. I think we could do that.
We've never talked about it, and like I think it's one of the most frustrating things from last year.
Yeah, we can definitely talk about it. I know there were some health concerns that they had and that he was trying to play through that really hindered his offensive power, and we can definitely talk about that as the season gets closer. I think, you know, this universal DH really bodes well for the Phillies. Yeah. They have 5 DHs on their roster.
Right.
Baum's could be a DH. Hoskins could be a DH. Real Muto could be a DH. Didi could be a DH. And Bryce could be a DH.
We're not going to have to deal with Didi, are we?
We are going to have to deal with Didi. I traded him in my, perfect off season when we did that, but like, I don't know, man. I don't know that he's going anywhere. So that being said,
Bryson Scott just doesn't take his position.
Bryson Stott's, he's going to get a shot. Yeah. You know, he's going to get a shot. He's going to get a shot.
I'll take that.
He's been in spring training and he's going to get every opportunity to win the job. I just, this whole opening day thing, if he gets up there, that's 3 picks.
Yeah, right.
It doesn't kill a service. I think that's something that's going to intrigue owners right away. And I think it's something that, the Phillies have to consider if he's out playing Didi. That being said, I'm curious to is there a player that you're most intrigued by? It doesn't have to be Phillies related, to see where they go right out of the gate here.
Man, I haven't looked at a full list of free agents for baseball in a while.
I mean, I can give you mine.
Let's go with yours, and while I think about it, I might think of somebody.
I mean, mine is 1,000% Freddie Freeman. I'm locked in to Freddie Freeman.
There's no way he goes somewhere, right?
Regs, they're not giving him the years that he wants.
How could you not do that to that man?
Because it's Atlanta.
You just won a World Series.
Exactly, they got a World Series. Why do we have to do anything now? Like,
Oh my God.
listen, if they let him go, they're just out of their minds.
Can I have him, please? I want him.
Listen, I would drive Reese elsewhere.
Give me.
I would
Freddie
drive
Freeman.
Reese. If Freddie Freeman, now I will say this, it would shock me if Freddie Freeman played anywhere else in the NL East.
Oh yeah, but still, I can dream.
Yeah, same.
God, that would be disgusting, wouldn't it?
More than likely, he's playing in the Bronx, or he's playing under the lights in LA.
I don't want Freddie Freeman to be a Yankee. I like him too much.
I mean, I'll like him a lot more if I don't have to watch him hit 700 against the Phillies.
Yeah, I mean, there might be. I know we could make this a list too. The all-time Philly killers, like that'll have to be another part. That'll have to be another part of an episode we do when we get.
We have to write
baseball.
these ideas down. I feel like we say them and then we forget them. We have to write these down. That's so good.
I'm gonna bring up a sticky note while we're talking about it, but
yeah, put that one down and put the draft and put JT down. Remember we talked about going through drafts too.
Yeah. So
yeah, gotta do that.
We yeah, I mean that guy.
Yeah.
Every time he stepped to the plate,
it's unreal.
In Citizens Bank Park, you're like, well, he's gonna get a hit.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
It's just gonna happen.
And yet he's so likable.
Yeah, that's the problem.
So likable.
Yeah, that's the problem.
I think he's a decision sooner rather than later. And I think if the money and the years are calling in New York, then Braves fans are going to be devastated.
That would be like, I don't like Braves fans, but like just thinking about that makes like my heart hurt.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, Chipper Jones played his whole career.
Yeah.
In Atlanta. So it would be baffling to imagine that's
a really good one.
Yeah. I mean, that's where all my attention is. I need to know where Freddie Freeman is going to be. That and from a Phillies perspective, just bring me Chris Bryant, please. I mean, I would love Kyle Schwarber. I think if they found a way to get them both here and just blow past the luxury tax, because that's what the Mets did, then good. Because Kyle Schwarber playing left field and leading off and Chris Bryant batting behind Bryce Harper is everything I could ever want and more.
Yeah. You know what? Funnily enough, I just searched like MLB free agents. At 10:05. I don't know who John Morosi is.
Oh, he's a really good writer.
So anyway, he says Dodgers' interest in Freddie Freeman is sincere, based on what I've heard from sources. Braves and Yankees obviously are prominent in the Freeman marketplace.
How about it? Look at us just throwing it out there.
Look at us
right now for the people.
Good for you.
Thank you. Feel good about that prediction. Yeah, Freeman's the guy that I'm watching, but I'm definitely hoping that we get a little bit of one of those two guys coming to Philly. I mean, Kyle Schwarber coming to Philly and leading off. I mean, just hitting absolute tank jobs into the seats in right field every day.
So here's a question. So I know we didn't want to get too deep on baseball, but like now that we're talking about
we're going to get deep on baseball because we've only complained about it.
I love baseball so much, and I'm so happy we can talk about it again.
Yeah.
I like the Schwarber thing. Why is everyone so excited? Like he didn't hit amazing for the Nationals, did he?
He was really good, Regs.
Was he? Did I just miss it?
Just type in Kyle Schwarber home run streak.
I missed it then.
Just type that in.
Kyle Schwarber home run streak.
What do you got?
Nationals Kyle Schwarber ties MLB modern record with 12 home run in 10 games. Yeah, that's pretty good.
I mean, if you look at his numbers from last year, and again, and here's the other thing about this. His career was rejuvenated by the Phillies' new hitting coach. So
that's right. I remember you guys talking about that connection.
Yeah, so that's a whole nother connection there. So here's his numbers last year. He had a 3.2 WAR. He hit 32 home runs. Let me see his OPS. His OPS was 957. 928. He had 957 OPS when he got to Boston. 910 OPS in Washington, and his on-base percentage was 374. The Phillies didn't have a leadoff hitter with that OBP. Now he is not fast.
No,
let's just put that out there.
Right.
He does not run the bases well.
He is not your typical leadoff hitter.
Right, but he got on base.
Right.
You know? And if you have he and Rhys Hoskins hitting 1 and 2 in your order, like those dudes get on base all the time.
Yeah, and I think I'm much more happy that this universal DH is a thing because he is not a good outfielder.
No, so they're
And
gonna
we
have to
don't-
figure out what's gonna happen in left field.
Yeah,
then.
and we don't need like another bad fielder.
I know what could happen in left field.
Chris Brown.
Chris Bryant. That'd be fine in left field, Regs. That would be fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
Look,
would be fine.
again, I rely on you for a lot of the deep cuts, for baseball. That's why I ask the questions. I like to put myself, I'm not afraid to ask questions. And
I think that Kevin Long connection is just too much to like pass up. Like
Yeah.
I often make fun of Joseph because he's like, oh, that stuff matters. And usually it's the money that matters,
Yeah,
right?
right,
At the end
right.
of the day, these guys want their money. But they also want to be successful. And Kyle Schwarber lost some success there along the way and refound it after working with Kevin Long.
Yeah.
So I do think that there's legitimacy to the thought that he would come to Philly. And again, the short porch in right field for him.
Oh, well, yeah.
I mean, dude, he hit some massive Titanic shots over the course of his career. And I just think he would hit many, many, many more if he had the opportunity to play in Philadelphia. So I'm hopeful for him. I'm hopeful for Chris Bryant. If John wants to blow past the luxury tax, John, I'm here for you, buddy. Like I'm here for you.
Man,
you got two season ticket holders sitting here telling you go for it.
So just thinking about that lineup, let's just assume we do get both.
Okay.
Man, the Phillies are slow.
Yeah.
Like, who is fast on this team?
I mean, yeah, I think speed's probably an issue. Kiermaier's quick.
Yes, that's true.
If he gets there, I mean, we're assuming Segura's not slow. He's not fast, but he's not slow. Bryce can run. JT's a good runner for a catcher.
Yeah, sure.
Reese is incredibly slow. Schwarber's slow. I don't think Brian's slow.
But I don't think with his like injuries, he's like stealing a ton of bases, right? Or
No. I mean, they're not going to be a team that if you go ahead and get Chris Bryant and Kyle Schwarber, you're not trying to steal bases to win baseball
that's
games.
true.
You're trying to outslug people.
Yeah, and
Like,
I think I still think a little like I still think old, like an old person sometimes, and like miss stolen bases. I mean,
what speed did they have last year though? Right, like
JT and Bryce.
I mean, there was none.
Yeah.
They didn't steal. Bryce stole a bunch of bases when he had the opportunity. But like, think about the fastest guys that they've had over the last few years: Dubal Herrera, Roman Quinn.
Yeah.
Like, Mickey Moniak's supposed to be pretty quick, right?
Oh God,
like,
I made you bring up Roman Quinn. I'm sorry.
It's okay. At least I liked Roman Quinn more than you did.
Yeah, you did because I did not.
Yeah, it's fine. Look, at the end of the day, man, this is exciting stuff. Baseball is back. We could probably have talked about it for another half an hour.
I'm so happy to be talking about it again.
But next week, I feel like we're going to have a twofold review show for free agency. We're going to have an NFL review show for free agency mixed with MLB.
I love it.
Free agency. And man, how exciting is that going to be? Here's the only downfall to baseball season starting.
Is there one?
I have to look at Brandon Nimmo's stupid face.
Yeah, you do.
20 times this year.
Yeah.
So, gosh, told you I was going to work that moron in all of our shows.
You're like 3 for 3 since we brought it up.
Yeah, and I'll keep going too.
Yep, good
I know there's a lot of love for my Brandon Nimmo hate out there, so I'll keep it coming, guys. I'll keep it coming. We might just do a whole Brandon Nimmo show. We might just like go through his Wikipedia page and criticize everything about him.
I might let you do that solo. That can be like a quick hit. You can have like a 20-minute solo Azzy episode.
After Brandon Nimmo hits a walk-off against
we'll just post it on like a random Monday. It'll just all of a sudden pop up in people's feeds.
Yeah, it'll just be me complaining about Brandon Nimmo for 20 minutes. That's fine. I can do that. Just ask random people about their feelings on Brandon Nimmo.
Yeah, that'll be good.
All right, Regs. We are loving that baseball is back, but there was some There's a ton of Eagles stuff out there right now, man.
There is, surprisingly.
Holy moly. Where do we start? Do we start with the wide receiver rumors? Do we start with the quarterback rumors? Do we start with the long-awaited return of a legend? Do we start with free agency? Do we start with the return of a not-so-big legend?
Let's start with the real legend. Let's start with the true legend.
Did you see the video he put out?
Yes, I did.
So for those of you who are living under a rock and have not seen the excitement around Eagles football, Jason Kelce announced today that he's retiring from WIP radio host, which was hilarious, by the way. I don't know if you caught any of it. It was incredible. And announced that he'll be returning to the Eagles because he's having way too much fun. And Jay, let me tell you, we too are having so much fun watching you. So, Regs, what does this mean for the Eagles to get him back?
Well, I think it kind of solidifies one of the better things about this team. Right? The O-line was one of the better parts of this team.
Yeah.
And with Brooks retiring, you obviously Lane, hopefully will still be around and can stay unhurt.
Yep.
So having those two guys as anchors, with Mailata and Lane at the end, and then having Kelce in the middle, like, you feel much better about putting anybody you want to in between them, right?
Yeah.
I think it also helps in Hurts development, like to have that sort of known commodity in Kelce there. Because again, one of Hurts's flaws is that he doesn't like to stay in the pocket. And when he gets, when he feels rushed, when he feels pressured, he will roll out in an instant. He won't hang in there. So obviously having Kelce to sort of anchor that middle is much better than throwing somebody in there who has to learn, get a relationship with Hurts, maybe Hurts doesn't trust him as much, all those things. So I'm really happy that that's back. I'm happy that they have that sort of leader back to help Hurts, along his journey to be a leader of this team. I think he's already pretty much there, but it has to help when you can have someone like Kelce to talk to, or, back you up in certain situations and things like that. Sure. I also think it's good to solidify something on the offense, because I think the defense is like a mess. And so that side of the ball is going to just be frantic and like all over the place. And pretty much outside of, the offensive line, the tight end, and the quarterback, a lot of stuff is going to happen. Like you said, the wide receiver rumors, things like that. So I think it's really good if we want to see if Hurts can improve for another season. I think this is a big step in helping him do that. Yeah.
I kind of drafted out their starting line, and of course I had Mailata and Lane on the book ending and Kelce in the middle, and Dickerson playing left guard because he was so good there last year. He's just an absolute mauler, just an absolute mauler. And we forget about him because he was hurt for all of last year. But Isaac Seumalo should be back this coming year, and you still have Driscoll behind him, and Herbig's still floating there. I don't know what they're going to do with Andre Dillard. I feel like he should be tradable, and maybe you try and draft somebody on day 2 or 3 that can be projected as like a backup tackle. Because he can only play left tackle. So there's got to be a team, and I'm thinking about the Bengals probably, who need offensive line. That could be a match made in heaven to make a deal there.
Yeah.
And because he just doesn't add value to the roster. He can't play any other position, and a backup needs to be flexible, needs to be able to play multiple spots on the line, and he cannot do that. Like Driscoll could slide in at tackle if need be. He's definitely made more so to be a guard, but he's capable. We saw him do it last year when the O-line was in shambles. He played right tackle for a little bit. So I see them drafting somebody there, but this certainly helps, because I told you weeks ago that Kelce leaving would mean they'd have to spend high on a center in the draft. They don't have to do that now. That's not something they have to worry about, and that's fantastic. If they want to take a developmental center to have around in like the 6th round, fine, so be it, go for it. Because Kelsey was a 6th round center. So, if they want to do something like that just to mess around a little bit, fine.
Yeah.
But I think, hang tight, and this is great news. This is great news for the Eagles and for us as fans to have the anchor back. Such a tough dude who loves this city and his teammates just adore. So a big deal coming out of Philly today. Where do you want to go next? You want to go to the rumors that were floating around? Do you want to go to the Commanders' new starting quarterback? What are you feeling?
We're gonna save the Commanders for last. Let's go to the rumors that were flying around.
All right, so it was reported that the Eagles had offers in play for Russell Wilson, but he nixed it with his no trade before landing in Denver. Same thing with the Commanders. They offered and he nixed their deal as well. So I think it's pretty clear that the Eagles are open for business at the quarterback position through trade.
Right.
I still don't think they draft a quarterback. I don't think that's going to benefit them. I read today that they're out on Deshaun Watson. Aaron Rodgers is back with Green Bay. There's really no one else out there right now. So I think, they were toying in the market, but not anymore. If the rumors are true on Deshaun Watson, that is, because he would be the only guy left that I feel they would take the shot at,
Yeah. I think I heard a little bit about that. I was listening to Simmons' podcast today, and he had Kevin Clark on talking about all this stuff, like the Wilson trade, all that stuff that's been going on. And I think he said that Watson stuff is going to grand jury. So like, there's like, none of it's good from that standpoint with him. And I don't know why teams would want to like jump in the middle of that. I hope you're right about the draft pick thing. I don't want them to take a quarterback. Like, it's not what this team needs right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have to use those draft picks better, to really improve the spots that we really need help with.
Yeah.
So again, I don't think it'll affect Hurts in a negative way, with this stuff being out there.
He's too tough, man. He's too tough. He's not the other guy.
We talked about this, like, when the season was done, that we were willing to go for another year of him to give him a chance to develop more and fill the needs that we need to around the rest of the team.
Yeah. I definitely don't see a reason for the quarterback in the draft. So the other rumor, and this actually, I don't know that it's a rumor as much as it is fact, because Jay Glazer reported it, and I don't know many other NFL guys as tied in as Jay Glazer is.
Yeah.
He reported that the Eagles and the Falcons had a deal actually in place for Calvin Ridley, and then the Falcons backed out. A classy move by them, by the way.
Yeah.
Because they could have gone through on that trade and stuck the Eagles with a guy who's going to be suspended for the season.
Right.
And that's a really classy move by that organization. So tip of the cap to the Falcons organization for what they did there. But man, that's heartbreaking because Calvin Ridley on this roster.
Yeah.
With Devontae Smith and Quez Watkins and Dallas Goedert would have been absolutely insane to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a tough one.
It hurts. It hurts. But that being said, it's clear that they're trying to push for a wide receiver who can be an impact.
Right.
Now, Tyler Lockett is clearly available after the Russell Wilson trade. Regs, like, I'm dialing that Seattle front office 5 times a day and asking them where they're at on DK Metcalf.
So the Lockett thing,
and I'm offering one of those first round picks for him, by the way.
I keep talking about this. I don't want another small guy.
No, we need that dude.
Yeah.
He's a dude.
Yeah. But like, from the Lockett standpoint, and I think, and I'd be even curious for Lockett. Like, I don't know how he's going to play without a Russell Wilson. Like, Russell Wilson and him had some sort of connection that every time Wilson threw the ball to him, he caught it. Metcalf, on the other hand, like you line Metcalf and Smith up on either side,
Yeah.
the team on the other side of the ball is already nervous.
Yeah.
And we are desperately needing something like that.
Yes. And Calvin Ridley's that big body type
Mm-hmm.
who can change a game in that way. I mean, he's not DK Metcalf big body type, but he's definitely a big. They're looking for a certain type of receiver. The other thing about Lockett that wouldn't make a ton of sense for the Eagles is most of the damage he does is on balls downfield.
Right.
And just Jalen, man, and that downfield ball, like it's not there yet.
Yeah,
and,
right.
I'm calling and I'm offering a 1 and some other assets probably for DK. I mean, I want the veteran receiver. Not that he's a major vet, but he's 25 years old.
Yeah, right.
Now, are they willing to part with him? I don't know. He could be a potential building block. I don't know how many teams try and build around a wide receiver.
I mean, he hasn't shown to be like an absolute stud. Like he's not like Calvin Johnson or, Mike Evans or, guys like that. He hasn't proven himself to be that guy yet.
I am just curious to just looking at the iPad here real quickly. I just want to see what his numbers were last year because he was a little quieter last year, and I mean that team just wasn't good last year.
Right.
But I just want to pull it up. 75 receptions, 967 yards, and 12 touchdowns. We would take that in a heartbeat.
Well, yeah, for sure.
We would take that in a heartbeat. In 2020, he had 83 receptions for 1,300 yards, 10 touchdowns. I mean, Howie, if you want to redeem yourself for blowing that pick and taking J-Jaw over him, this is the time to do it. This is how you do it. You go and you pay for this dude.
Yeah.
Because then you could still sign a free agent wide receiver if you want to.
Right.
You could absolutely do that, or you could draft one later in the draft. But if you sign this, or if you trade for this guy with one of those first round picks, then what you can essentially do is take those other 2 picks, use them on defense, and really focus on defense. There's not a whole lot more you're going to have to do on the offensive side of the ball with DK Metcalf, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert. There's just not a lot you have to do then.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But that rumor with Calvin Ridley tells me that he's working the wide receiver position. There's no doubt.
Yeah, which is what we wanted him to do.
Yeah. So that's good news. All right. So we're just going to say it. Wentz or free agency?
I mean, we can talk about Wentz for a minute.
All right. Well, I mean, he's going to throw for 300 yards, 400 yards every time he plays this, right?
No, he's not.
It's the Seth Curry effect. We watched it tonight.
No,
Curry looked like his brother tonight.
There's a difference. Seth Curry had Kevin Durant to back him up.
And Seth Curry was good for us. Let's be fair.
And what mental fortitude has Carson Wentz shown to be the guy who's going to walk into the link and be like, I'm going to get you guys because you traded me. He's a coward.
I mean, I will say this. That's going to be a fun game. And I think they play week 1.
That is hilarious.
I think they play week 1 at the link. I don't know. I don't know if I'm just talking.
I don't think Carson Wentz has the mental fortitude to do that to us. He's going to be so nervous.
Yeah, I don't think they've announced dates.
Yeah.
I think I just saw something today that should be the game.
Oh, okay.
So, well, I guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
I guess we'll find out. I don't have too many thoughts on this, Regs. I know the Commanders tried to go get Russell Wilson. I just think it's really interesting that, Carson's back in the division. He didn't even make it a year.
I mean, after that loss, the last game of the season, right? How could you?
I know, but I mean, think about the division he played in. It's a bad division, and he was the 27th rated quarterback in football last year.
Yeah.
And whoo,
he's unfortunate. He's broken.
And here's the thing, Regs. We're not talking he was playing for a bad team. They had one of the best running backs in the game, one of the best offensive lines in the game, one of the best defenses in the game. They lack a little bit at the wide receiver spot.
Yeah, sure.
But there's no way he should miss the playoffs in that division with that roster.
Yeah. Especially,
there's no way.
Yeah, especially losing the way he did in that last game.
I mean,
To a
I don't know
Jacksonville
what
team who didn't care less.
I don't know. I don't know where Indy's going at the quarterback position, but that kind of tells you. I mean, the same sort of stories coming out of Indianapolis right now about the leadership and all of that.
Yeah.
The other side of it is they gave up 2 third-round picks for him.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, goodness gracious, this is just not something I would have done. I mean,
yeah, it's a tough scene for the Colts,
and it's a tough. Well, no, the Commanders gave up the 2 third-round picks.
Oh,
right.
I
think that's even too much.
Yeah.
But like, I just think, what a fall from grace for him.
Yeah.
From Philly to where he's at right now, and I don't want him to succeed now because we got to face him twice a year, and he's in our division. So if he succeeds, they succeed.
Yeah, I don't see that happening.
I know a few Commanders fans who aren't happy about it. So, good luck.
Yeah.
And Godspeed to you all.
Right. Yep.
Real quickly, let's touch on free agency. I wrote down a few guys that I wanted to keep an eye on going into Monday. Monday's the legal tampering period, which means basically like we find out who signs where on Monday, even though free agency doesn't officially open until Wednesday. I think the only time where it like backfired was when Frank Gore was announced as an Eagle and then 2 days later was not an Eagle.
Yeah, right.
And the jokes still fly about that every year. Just a couple of guys at a couple of positions. Not going to spend a whole ton of time here, because football's a little more difficult to predict than like a sport like baseball, just because of the salary cap pieces. So trying to even do salary with this is just impossible.
Yeah.
I did write down DJ Shark, the wide receiver from Jacksonville, who's had some injuries. He's 25 years old. Can go get it. I think, if they're looking to build young, I said this on the last episode, he makes a ton of sense for them. The only problem is the injuries. They just, they've run into that with that position with Deshaun many times. But Deshaun was older. So, you hope that Shark on like a 1 to 2 year deal would benefit from that and play himself into something a little bit longer. So he's a name to keep an eye on if they don't trade for one. I wrote down Anthony Barr, linebacker from the Vikings. I think his connection to Jonathan Gannon probably plays into this a little bit. And Barr's a pretty solid linebacker too. I think he's the type of guy who could really help them. And it would not surprise me if he were somebody they took on as a veteran going into the season. So just keep an eye on that name. I've heard the name Justin Reed quite a bit at the safety spot, Texan safety, 25 years old. I have heard that name quite a bit. I've also heard Marcus Williams, a safety from New Orleans, quite a bit too. 2 young dudes. They need to get younger at safety. I mean, they just have to get younger at safety.
Yeah.
Would I be mad if they brought back one of the 2 guys from last year? No. I'd be fine if they brought back one of those 2 guys. But what I'd much rather see is sign a young safety, draft a young safety.
Yeah, for sure.
And just go from there, because then you have Marcus Epps still there and playing important snaps when you need him to. But I think trying to sign somebody like that and draft somebody would be the route to go and just build the back end, because man, we're really lacking there.
Yeah,
really
for
lacking
sure.
there. And then the last piece I have is an edge rusher, Justin Houston. Not super well known. But the type of guy that I could see them getting, and just having that veteran presence that they so badly need, opposite of Brandon Graham now, because Barnett's not going to be back and Sweat is obviously there, and I think you're going to see 2 edge rushers taken in. It wouldn't surprise me if they took 2 with 2 of their picks in the first round.
Yeah, I mean, although it has to be 1, I think.
Yeah, it's for sure going to be 1. I think everybody knows that when it comes up for the Eagles, the edge rushers that are there, like one of them's going to go, whether it's Jermaine Johnson, like the kid from Florida State, or I can't remember his name, but from Michigan,
Hutchinson. The other guy,
Agabo.
Yeah.
I think his name is. But he's another guy who showed out. I don't know that he's going to make it to them at 15 or 16, because he's just a freak. He's a freak.
Yeah.
He's raw, but he's a freak. So they're definitely going to get an edge rusher there, and I would assume, whatever best player available on the defensive side, whether it's a linebacker or safety or a corner at that point. I've seen Stingley go to them a couple of times in the draft too. But like I said, we're gonna do a draft show. I mean that the draft is we're about a month out now. A month and a half. But nonetheless, like we're right there. It's crazy to think that we're that close to it because free agency is next week. And that's where you have a better picture of what the draft's going to look like. Once you see the free agents that you bring on board, the picture for the draft comes a little bit more clear into view.
Yeah.
So those positions, and I know you're going to say edge rusher. So let me just take that out of the equation for you. Where do you want them? Where do you want them to hit the free agency market? I mean, again, you got to see what's out there, but even with the names I just listed, if you had to choose someone out of Anthony Barr or DJ Shark or Justin Houston, I'm going to take Reed out of it because I know you'd pick him as the edge rusher. Let's just assume they're going to get an edge rusher in free agency. Who's the guy that you're hoping for?
Barr, the linebacker.
Okay. I'm going with Reed.
Yeah. I
want the safety.
I don't know why I focus on it so much, but like I still think linebacker can be an impact position in the NFL.
Sure.
And we haven't had a good one in a long time.
Yeah, it's been a bit. I mean, I think Bradham played really well for us. But we need a game changer. Like I watch Michael Parsons and I'm so jealous.
I know. That's what I mean. Like it's still possible to find these guys who can change games from that position. And we just haven't had one in so long, and it's just so clear in some games,
Sure.
So that would be my hope.
Yeah, I think
we try and solidify that position in some way.
I just go back to I really, really want to rebuild that secondary.
Yeah, for sure.
We just have to get younger there. I mean, again, McLeod was great for us. I can't question Rodney McLeod at all.
Yeah.
Harris played fine for what he was back there too. But like they need to get younger.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm hoping for. Clearly, I'd be shocked if Monday we don't see something saying that the Eagles signed an edge.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be Houston. I just think that's a guy that makes sense for them. He's not as well known, and sometimes those are the guys that tend to they surprise you and make the bigger impact.
Mm-hmm.
But they definitely need more depth there, and they got the cap space to do it. So I think they're going to be busy in free agency, and I think the least likely thing here, after what I saw happen this week with the Ridley stuff, I'm starting to think that a trade for a receiver is more likely than a signing of a receiver. Maybe both. I don't know. Maybe they're going to take care of the free agents. They're going to do what they did for Wentz in 2017 when they went and they got Alshon and Torrey Smith that offseason. Maybe they go and trade for someone like DK and sign a guy like Juju to play in the slot. That would be
unbelievable.
That I just said something out loud that like I wasn't even really like believing it, but then I'm thinking about it and I'm like, oh my gosh, how great would that be?
I perked up too.
Wow, that just kind of came out of left field. If that were to be the case, like think about that. Try and guard that with Goddard and the threat of Quez Watkins.
Yeah, that's nuts
too. Yeah. Wow. We'll stop with the Eagles on that note. I was gonna do a fixated about Coach K tonight, but I've changed my mind mid-show, Regs.
Thank God.
I mean, I know you're happy. I love Coach K, man. I love him so much. I just want to say one quick thing. It is going to never, ever happen again that one guy spends 42 years in one school.
No, yeah, for sure.
Like that in and of itself deserves, you don't have to like the program. You don't have to like the person, whatever. But that kind of loyalty and sustainability is unheard of, and it'll be unmatched. My brother said the other night that the only guy, who do you think is the only guy that could come close to it in college basketball right now?
Boeheim.
No, okay. That's not who he said. I'm surprised that you weren't thinking the same thing. Because, well, aren't you a Nova guy?
No, I'm a UConn guy.
Oh, that's right.
My
Phil's
parents,
the Nova guy.
well, my brother is because he went there. My parents have turned into Nova people, and I hate the fact that they disown my beloved UConn just because my brother went to Villanova.
Well, that was who my brother
Jay Wright.
My brother said, yeah, Jay Wright. He said that. I mean, I don't know how long he's been there. I'd have to look it up. But 42 years is a long time, and I just think at some point, like, you know, either it becomes too stale for him, it becomes too stale for them. But because 42 years, so that's all I'll say about Coach K. I just think that's incredible, and I've only known one head coach my entire lifetime. Like, I'm 35.
Yeah,
and
I mean, I've
I've
only known 2. Well, now it's 3, but it was
right,
Jim Calhoun for me forever, right?
Calhoun. Yep. I mean, what's cool is at least it's a player.
To slightly switch it up, like Gino Auriemma will never leave UConn women's basketball until he decides to. So like that might be on par with the success of the program, the longevity.
Yes, that's fair. I just think men's college ball.
No, sure.
It's just not. I mean, Jay Wright is probably the closest it gets.
Yeah,
I think
Boeheim's
a good one. Boeheim's a good one. Boeheim's a good one, but I think he's on his way out too.
Well, I believe that, but again, if you're just looking for tenure and some not as many national championships, but for a school and a guy that have stuck together for a really, really long time.
Right. I just think it's a cool thing for the sport to be able to say that it happened, and he's passing it along to one of his players too, which is really cool too.
Yeah.
To be able to give the keys to the car to a guy who played for you and won a national title for you, and has coached under you since he left playing ball that's pretty special. So good for them. I know you don't care, but
listen,
anyway.
I didn't say I didn't care. I just don't like them.
So the Phixated Regs is just going to be on what we talked about a little bit earlier. Baseball being back is so freaking cool. It's unbelievable. 99 days we were in a lockout. 99 days. Almost a third of our year we spent locked out of the sport that we love. And today, and it's been a really tough week at work, man. Like, it has been wild at work. But today I got the message that baseball's back, and I don't think people at work really know this is the first time they're seeing baseball, Mike.
Really?
So,
wow.
Oh yeah, they have not seen baseball, Mike. I'm at a new school this year, so they don't know. So I basically fist pumped my way around the building. Like sorry, I interrupted a couple of classes to celebrate. I was that excited. I know it sounds weird and I know it sounds crazy, but this is just such a special thing for like me as a person. Baseball's always been like my number one. I mean, like, people who grew up with me, like at weddings, would tell Andrea, like, "Oh, you're a baseball wife now." Like, this is, and when I got home from school today, there was a note on the counter because she had gone out with a friend for dinner, and the note just said, "Baseball is back!" exclamation point, heart. So like, you know, for someone who wasn't even a baseball fan before our relationship began, she's, you know, grown to love it because of, you know, me waving my arm in the living room, you know, waving Bryce Harper to the plate in a 1-run game. Like, this was hard for months to hate the sport that I love. And now I get to love the sport again. And, you know, baseball broke my heart last week when they told us we were close and then we weren't. And I was angry. And now here we are, and we're recording like a week after that whole charade. And we get to celebrate the fact that the sport is back. It's breathing. They have a good agreement. And, you know, April 7th will be opening day, and April 8th I'll be at Citizens Bank Park for the home opener against the A's. And man, it's just spring training games are going to start next week, and I can't tell you just how excited and happy I am and how full of joy my heart is today to have the sport that I grew up so passionate about and grew up caring way too much about. It's back, baby. We're playing ball. It's back. Good game. Let's go eat. Thanks, 100 pence. So that's what I'm fixated on tonight, man. We went from being fixated on baseball being frustrating and, filling us with anger and rage to baseball doing what it's done our entire lives. And that's filling us with excitement and bringing me back to being a little boy again. Can't wait for opening day and the chills that I get during the flyovers and the first pitches and 162 games, man. 162 games of frustration and excitement, and hopefully we're one of those 12 teams standing at the end of the year playing in a playoff, because it has been far too long since we've been able to do that.
Yes, it has.
Far too long. So 2022, the year that the Phillies get back, baby. We're coming, Regs.
We're gonna do it. I believe in
Anything
us.
to add before we go?
Listen, right? I am all in on that Phixated. It's essentially the basis of our friendship, right? Started with Phillies baseball, when you don't know anybody going to college, but you find these connections. It's a sport unlike you that I've grown more and more in love with as I've gotten older. My family is not a huge baseball family, right? They weren't a huge sports family, to be quite honest. My dad was a swimmer, my mom was a volleyball player, right? So it's not like we were huge into any of the big major sports. I got into the Phillies because of friends or family friends, and things like that. But as I've grown older, my love for baseball has just exponentially become higher and higher, not undue to the fact that the Phillies won a World Series in 2008. So I'm with you, man. I can't be more happy that it's back. I can't be more happy that we get to talk about it again. I can't be more happy that guys are going to be at spring training. I can't be more happy that we're going to be able to watch some games. I'm all in. I'm all in, and I can't wait to talk about it on this podcast as well. It's going to be good. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I mean, I feel like, these live or these pods that we do on YouTube, I'm going to be sitting here watching the game, and you're going to see the reactions of live in action.
Oh yeah, it's going to be great.
I mean, Regs, we might have to do a Phixated night at the stadium. Get some people out there. Do a night where we, hang out before the game and do a little Phixated night.
That's a fantastic idea.
Great Phixated
idea.
Listeners, you let us know if you want to do a Phixated night with us. Come down to the ballpark, have some beers with us, watch some baseball. What do you think, man?
It's on the sticky note.
It's on the sticky note. Well, if it's on the sticky note, we have to do it.
It will happen. It will happen.
Phixated night at Citizens Bank Park. We're coming for you, Phillies. Bryce, we'll sit in right field. I know you're listening, man.
I love it. Yep.
All right, I know I got to do the outro.
You do. Listen, this is yep.
Well, guys, this was a longer one. There was a lot to get into tonight.
There was a
lot. Next week we'll be coming to you again. And man, we're gonna have a lot to talk about because playoff basketball is going to be coming a little more into the picture. We'll probably have a little bit more to talk about with the Sixers and where they sit in the standings. We'll have the results of NFL free agency at that point, and looking toward the draft to see where the Eagles need to go. We'll have the results of baseball free agency, believe it or not. That's going to be a big part of the conversation. So make sure that you tune in. Look for updates on our Twitter account at Phixated Pod, because I'll be updating that, as baseball news pops in or football news pops in. I'll be updating you guys on Facebook as well. If you're not there, the Phixated fan page, both with a PH, make sure you sign up for that because there's some good conversation happening on there and some excitement about baseball being back as well. You can follow me at the Mic Drop 5. I won't make Regs drop his handle because he told me it didn't matter last week. I love you anyway, Regs.
Follow the Phixated Pod.
Follow the
and
Phixated
subscribe
Pod
on YouTube.
Yep, absolutely. Subscribe on YouTube because we want to do it for a living, right? Is that what I'm supposed to say?
Dude, we're up to 10 subscribers. We hit 10.
I don't know what that
sick.
means, but it's double digits.
It's good.
So that's good.
Like, it's
I'm
crazy.
telling you, 5 of them are my mom. Shout out, Joe Marie. Love you.
Love it.
So thanks, guys, for listening. As always, we appreciate every single one of you taking the time to listen to our nonsensical rants about loving sports but hating our teams all at the same time. We love our sports, but man, our teams drive us crazy. Nothing but love. As always, guys, thank you so much for listening. Make sure you follow and subscribe on all your platforms and on YouTube. We love each and every one of you for listening. Take care, y'all.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Deep to right field, way up there, and way out of here!
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
The 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.